Coming back at you again for episode 67 of Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. This week, Three Old Guys Reselling Podcast is the number 3. And we've got, without a doubt, the star of the Trash to Cash podcast with us here today.
It needs to be said more, and it needs to be said louder. Those two got big heads, and they don't need it. They already make millions of dollars. They don't need to be arrogant as well. So yeah, no, I love it.
I mean, I've heard, time and time again, common wealthy picker. And I mean, I'm really starting to believe it. Like, I don't think it's a joke.
No, I love it. I love all of the things, some of them not so good about Kevin that we've created and are part of the community. That's one of my favorite things at get-togethers is people come up to him almost always and just tell the jokes that we tell about him to his face now. Whereas when we first met him, everybody was, they were like, they were basically sucking up to him nonstop, and now we got people just teasing him. And, I think it's good for him. I think it keeps him level, or else his ego would be even bigger. And we need
and of course he finds a way to make new stickers and make more money off of it too.
Yeah, he's gonna monetize whatever we do. Period. I respect it as much as I hate it. So.
Yeah.
He just has money popping out of every pocket, and
he's a businessman, man. Do you know what it is? He doesn't want to teach ever again. That's what it is. Yeah. He has that. I mean, he's a good teacher and everything, but like I'm saying, like I always think of that. I'm like, he's just making sure he's good forever. He doesn't have to actually go back and go back to the full-time job, which is, fulfilling in ways, but also a lot of stuff you got to deal with. And also it's a time suck from family and other things you want to do. So
it is. And that's a great thing you just said too, because one of my favorite parts about this lifestyle, about the reselling lifestyle, eBay, whatever, Poshmark, whatever you do, wherever you're at, it's so much freedom. Like, I know we still have responsibilities. You have to run your business. You have to do this, that, and the other, but you can do it in the way it best suits you. Like, I couldn't do that if I work for someone. They expect me there at this time, stay this long, do this much. And this, I get to dictate that pace, and I can be like Kevin, super rich, or I can be more like, who I am, and, aspire to be super rich. Not really.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're happy and you're spending time with your family, I mean, money, I mean, like, I'd love to be rich, but like mostly for the lack of stress that I would have, I would hope. I guess it would just give you new stress though. That's what I can't probably understand because I'm not there. But I would love not to have to worry about stuff, but maybe you need a little bit of that just to drive you to do the things you want to do in life. Just a little bit of stress. I don't know.
I actually at church this week said something along those same lines. I quoted, I can't remember exactly who it was now, but the quote was, money costs a lot. And I was like, well, that's true. There's a lot of sacrifice involved in getting to that level because it just don't appear out of thin air. You talk to anybody and they'll tell you. Yeah. Well, I mean, for some people, they can just slip one card out and turn it into cash. But for other people,
the Caitlin Clark card was the closest that was literally out of thin air. So that one that just happened. But outside of that, I haven't had luck in my life with a money tree or thin air money.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Let's just move right on into that for a minute, because that was insane. Like, I was kind of watching the auction off and on every day or so. I check into it and I see it, at like, I think it was at 4,500 for a long time. And I'm like, man, I can't believe he's going to make $5,000 off this card. Next time I look, it's at 25,000. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It was at 15.5, I think. The morning it ended. And I had a feeling it was, I kept hearing all sorts of numbers, but I had a feeling it was going to go up based on the bid activity and I had watched pretty thoroughly the last big auction they did right when I delivered my cards to them. They had a bigger auction. It was called like their 100 Golden 100. And they had a Kobe Bryant, I think 1-of-1 autograph with his jersey that was at way more. It was at like 700,000 or something. And then in the extended bidding, it went all the way up to 1.5 million.
Goodness.
So, and just in an hour or two. So I'm like, I know that there's people here who if they want it, but that was the thing about that card was everything went right for me. Literally everything. Like it was the 5th day of a 5-day event, and I bought it 3 hours before the national closed. The lady, there was 2 packs. She flipped it over and gave me the bottom pack. I was going to just buy, because what happens is you buy a product from Panini or whoever from one of these companies, and they'll give you a bonus pack. You can go get it from the booth. I was just going to buy the bonus pack from one of the dealers who had bought some of the product, and they were selling them at less, right? 45, $50, too much. But I wanted to open one for a video because I do opening videos, and I've wanted one for a long time because I love cards. I've never done it. And basically Don actually convinced me to just go buy like something, whatever you want, you know, I picked the cheapest thing that you could get a bonus pack with, a $90 box. And I'm like, I could just make it one video. I'll open this $90 box, but I'll get the bonus pack. And usually I like to have my setup at home, preferably, but on the road, I would, have my stand and I'd be wherever I am and I'm opening my cards. But since I had Don with me and we had been kind of messing with third person the whole time, like with videoing, I'm like, just film me like this, opening the pack, which is something I've done. I don't even know if I'd done it before, maybe once before during this trip. And it just happened. Dawn was confused. Like she didn't understand what it was. I knew it was good. I didn't know how good it was, but Dawn immediately went, "Oh, you only got 2 cards." She was upset that she thought I got ripped off because there's only 2 cards in the pack. No, we're good. We're good. Trust me. And then it went from me thinking thousands. That was my initial thought, to people around me going 5,000, people around me trying to buy it off me, as it was in my hand. I'm like, I don't care if it's worth $20. I mean, I do, but like, I'm not selling it to some random person and not know what it is worth.
Yeah.
I want to be on this journey. It's also like cool content and interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the perfect place too. Like I was at the National Sports Card Convention, the biggest convention there is. Golden was there. I walked it over to him. The guys from the show were there. I handed it to them. They took it and they took it with them. And then they graded it in 5-6 days. And it got a perfect grade, which is surreal considering how I opened it and how I probably in any other day would have dropped it 6 times before I got it open. And then she played amazing this month. She did nothing but score like 30 points a game, and she ended up having a triple double after. And somebody was like, the triple double happened, and somebody's like, I hope you didn't sell that card, because not everybody's up to date on. They know I have it, but not everybody's seen all the videos or all the Instagram stories or whatever. And I'm like, no, I've sold it, man. I did really good. And here's the thing. Nobody's going to win bigger on that card than me. Like if somebody spent $40,000, which is what they spent after buyer premium, and they want to resell it, I hope they do and they make money, because they put a lot of capital into an investment. So if they can go back and turn it around in 6 months and get 70, thankfully, maybe if it went to like millions, it would start to think, I'd think that way. But like, I've never been one to worry about lost potential profits that don't exist, because if you think that way, especially in sports cards, you'll lose 9 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. So it's better to cash out when you got a good profit in front of you, even reselling stuff like this.
It's like we mentioned,
best case scenario.
I think we mentioned last week, I said something to Caleb about, it was the 1-of-1 logo patch LeBron card. I think it's pulled in Miami, not long after he had debuted. And I don't remember what it sold for. Something like $300,000 or $400,000. A guy paid up for it immediately to buy it. And I think that's the one that's broke the records, selling when it's going up for auction for his cards. But anyway, several $1 million it sold for. But I mentioned Derrick Rose, for instance. I said, if LeBron would have had a similar, career arc, if he'd have had 3 awesome years, made it to the finals, had a really horrible knee injury, and never been as productive as he was ever again, that would have been a wasted investment. I mean, that card would have absolutely tanked in value compared to what it could have been. And that's why, like you said, someone paying up $40,000. I mean, it's a big gamble, really, at this point.
It is.
You look at it in this, in the excitement, you think, hey, this could be worth a couple $100,000 in 2 or 3 years if she continues to perform at this level. And the excitement continues to build around her. But if she has one injury that derails her career within the first year or two, it's all for naught.
It's true.
I talk about Penny Hardaway a lot, that he was my favorite, and dude would have been, we'd be talking about Penny Hardaway top whatever, he was just awesome.
And at least I'd say
couldn't stay healthy for nothing.
Yeah.
they had a podcast, they do a lot of sports podcasts now, and Shaq was asked about I think it was his best teammate, and he said Penny over Kobe in the prime. Well, he basically said it like this, like Penny was him. He was the minute Penny hit the court in the NBA, he was already there. Whereas Kobe, if you guys remember, I remember he struggled for years. Like
he was on the bench.
He was getting air balls against my Jazz. I remember in the playoffs, but that's what made Kobe is like, he'd take those shots when he wasn't ready. And then he became ready, over time so that worked. And it was the right thing for him to do looking back. But yeah, Penny right out the gates was that good. And anybody who was watching basketball alive in pop culture in the mid 90s know how big of a deal Penny was. I mean, Penny was in like the little Penny, the little puppet, Blackstreet video, the ad campaigns. He was, I would say, top 3 coolest basketball players you could have probably followed at that time. Oh yeah, he had his shoes and everything. He was a surefire Hall of Famer. I'd argue he could even be in now, considering because Grant Hill got in, being injured as much as he was, and just I think the impact he had in the short amount of time. Personally, I would consider him a Hall of Famer, even though he doesn't have the stats to back it up, because it would have been a foregone conclusion if he was remotely healthy. The fact that he played as long as he did and got as injured as much as he did, kind of like Grant Hill, like he got so injured for so long and then to still play 15, 20 years just shows you what an incredible athlete both those and players they were.
Absolutely.
Yep. To stick around in that league when you don't have it shows how much ahead of the pack you already were. Your 20% is good enough to stick around, which is pretty wild.
Still like one of the best 6 men in the league, for years. Like he was, and like you said, probably not 20 or 30% of the player that he was or could have been were it not for the injuries. And that's crazy to think about, with him and with Penny and with a lot of others, like where they would have been, were it not for the injuries. But that's just part of it. It's part of the game.
I think they're like Terrell Davis for the Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. He might be.
I think he is.
Yeah, he is. Like he had like a 3-year astronomical peak. And I think now people might be more lenient on running backs nowadays because most of them are done by like their mid to late 20s at this point.
Yeah.
But like he was the best player. It felt like to me at that time, like he was like the best player in the league for several years, just like and then I think that's good enough to. I'm glad. I'm excited. We're not talking about reselling. I'm just messing with you.
Hey man.
Well, we don't talk about reselling a whole lot.
I like talking about reselling. I'm just playing. I'm just used to it I'm used to well, maybe it's more like I'm excited to talk about sports because Dave won't let me talk about sports. Kevin likes to talk about sports, but Dave is he's a force to be reckoned with, and we have to do as he wishes, or he'll be mad. Very angry person.
Our running joke on here is whenever we get around to reselling talk is, is this a reselling show?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of forget.
I think it's cool. Like it's like a water. It's like we all need a water cooler. The classic where everybody can gather and talk about life, and that is in the same business basically. So inevitably, if you're in the office, you're going to talk about work, but you're also going to talk about whatever else is interesting in the moment. So,
yep.
Well, so okay, you mentioned reselling, so now we have to talk about reselling. So, just a simple reselling question: outside of cards, what would be your favorite thing to sell?
Probably I like sports stuff. So I would say sportswear. Like I love getting vintage shirts is awesome. Vintage jackets, starter jackets. I mean, a perfect day of like non-sports cards would probably still be sports related. I'd love to come to a table that had a bunch of, like the logo athletic hats and stuff, the paint splatter and the different, script hats. That would be fun. That would be it. I like action figures. Like the thing is, like I've had a couple years here in Vegas where the connections I had on like action figures in Utah, I don't have here. So I've kind of gotten out of it a little, but I think if I was going to a place that consistently had good stuff, I would get really hardcore back into it again. Yeah. So like 80s and 90s, basically anything you see on Dibdit, honestly, not to plug it, but like that's basically our 3 personalities. And it's so any 80s, 90s pop culture stuff would probably be it. But I also like, Don loves MCM. I weirdly like I like Art Nouveau stuff. So like 1910s and 1920s, the Pixie stuff, like the light, I've sold light fixtures from there. I would love to get I'd love to maybe get into like old books from the, like history wise. I wanted to be a history teacher. My period that I was most interested in was like what they call the fin de siècle. And I got my Spanish accent. It's a French word, but it's the fin de siècle, the end of the century for French history. So like 1870 up until World War I, which is kind of like the dawning of the modern era. The Lumiere brothers came out with moving pictures, and we started to get some sort of vehicles that weren't horse-drawn, steam engines and locomotives. All the robber barons like Cornelius Vanderbilt in the U.S. Like that era, for some reason, struck me, I think, a little bit because I've always been a history buff, and I learned so much about the ones that everybody knows about. And that was an era I felt like I didn't know a lot about for years. So I really became fascinated with it. So I'd love to deal with stuff from that era of any fashion in a perfect world. I don't know why, but that would be the cool thing about what we do, though, is I feel like, who was I talking to? It must have been in the podcast yesterday. Oh, Dave was saying he has a hard time niching down. He has a hard time niching down because he's not interested in what he used to be interested in as much as he was, like the toys or the plushes or whatever. And it's cool. I think this business allows us to do that.
Yeah.
You can get super hyper focused on something and get excited about it. I'm obviously about cards, and it's always been there, but cards are like number one. Maybe in a couple of years it'll be second to something else. I don't know. But like you can get hyper focused on something, become hopefully some sort of expert on that. But the stuff that you were hyper focused on, I've done this for 13 years. So there's been cycles that I was focused on 3-4 years ago. You don't lose that knowledge. You don't go to a yard sale and suddenly forget, that's a food fighter and it's worth money. I know it's worth money.
Yeah.
The only issue is it's overpriced, and I'm not like a digger. So if I look at a couple prices and it's overpriced, then it's immediately discouraging, and I don't bother. A lot of times maybe I should bother a little more, but so you never forget that stuff you've learned during the different eras of kind of niching and trying different things. So I always encourage people, if you're like, go to a thrift store, watch videos. That's what I would do. Watch people flipping, find something you like within it, and just get into it. And then over time, you're going to be hopefully going enough where you're good enough at every section, but you're an expert in this section. And then, hopefully that'll get you to the point where pretty much any thrift store, you should be able to bring home a couple things to sell, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
A reasonable thrift store. So,
yep.
I've had that same thought. Like I've been at yard sales lately, and I've had a tough time getting back in my listing group since we moved to the new house and everything. And going to these yard sales, it's like, even when I'm 60, right? 60, 65 years old, I'm still going to have a hard time if I drive down the road, see a yard sale sign, not stopping. Like I'm going to want to stop. And if I see this $100 item, I'm going to want to buy it to flip, and I just don't think that's ever going to not be there. I don't know if that makes sense. And not that I'll have a eBay store that's, got 1,000 listings or whatever, but I think it gets in your blood almost, like you get this bug, like I'm a reseller. Like I got to resell.
It's actually like a really practical and smart way to think about life though, too. Like
exactly what I was saying.
A lot of us who are, deep into this with YouTube and content creation and reselling may or may not still be super into what we're doing in 20 years. You're right. I can't imagine most of us who are this deep in not selling occasionally in the future is what I'm saying. I think you're 100% right, because there's no way you're going to pass something that's obviously worth money. So like it feels like a superhero power to a certain level. It's like the way I look at it, especially with Whatnot, love it or hate it, is I could literally find an item today and I could sell it in an hour, and I could have cash in an hour and a half or 2 hours. I could literally, you're not going to get top dollar or whatever, but you could literally just at this level. And I think it's only going to become easier for that in the future. There's going to be, I'm on Instagram. Hey, I got this. It's going to be a one-click button on stories or whatever AI, and then it'll just have a price and you just buy it. Like, I mean, it's going to become easier and easier to do stuff like as technology advances. And I think it's always going to be in our blood. I think I'm always going to be doing it. But who knows? There might be times where I have a small store. Might be times where I'm focusing heavy on Whatnot, and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. Whatnot. I'm sending cards into consignment places for like sports. Yeah, because like I could send hundreds of cards. I know they're all going to sell because they're just going to auction them off. Right? They're going to start them at $1. I know they're good enough cards. And then instead of getting, having 12% taken or 15, they're taking maybe 20. So they're taking extra 5-6%ish. But then you don't, like, a lot of times with me, I'll buy so much and I just have a bulk of stuff and I don't get to it. So like, if I want to, that's what my goals is to try all these different places, figure out what works for me. Having social media, I can push some of them if I really enjoy them, and just not rely only on any one given site. Which is when I started, it was if eBay went away, I a real job kind of thing. Like there's nothing else. Yeah. And then we're not in that world anymore, and it might be hard. I think it's hard for a lot of older people who, not even older people, but people who have been doing eBay only for 20 years. When eBay was 20 years ago, eBay was like a thing that was like, like, is that even a real thing? Like a lot of things people think about other sites, they thought about eBay 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Will it last? Is it real? Is this a scam?
Even if it doesn't last, even if Whatnot theoretically didn't last, which I think it will, but even if it didn't, do you think live auctions are going anywhere?
No.
If TikTok got shut down, is there not going to be any more short form videos? No, all those skills you get are going to transfer. Even if you have to start from zero again, which would suck, but all those skills are going to transfer into whatever else is taking its place.
Well, what it's proven is that avenue of selling, that there's a place for it. So like I said, if Whatnot goes away, it's going to be because something came along that did it better and took its place. That'll
probably be a positive. Yeah. That's what people don't think about, and I don't think this is going to happen. But if eBay went away, that's wild thought. But if eBay went away, it's probably because there's a better option for us to sell on. Yeah. So we're not actually hurting. Like it's not like it went away and there was nothing to replace it, and then we have no income coming in. You just that's a place that is obviously everybody's going to, and that's why eBay is struggling.
Right. So I have another question. I introduced you as the star of the Trash to Cash podcast. I'm just wondering, what's it like to be the star of the Trash to Cash podcast? Because if I'm going to get blunt and real, it wouldn't take a whole lot to be the star of the show.
No, it wouldn't. It's just, it reminds me what's possible when you have low standards. And
Caleb's trying to make friends today.
No, that's good. This is good. No.
Got to get Kevin's attention somehow, right?
Kevin hears his name and he's summoned, so he's going to be
ears are perking up.
Yeah, he might use one of his alt accounts to comment something, but Werther's and Wheat Pennies or whichever one of his other accounts. But no, I mean that was a happy little accident. The whole because me and Dave started that podcast 2-3 weeks after we talked the first time, and we talked, if I remember right, because of Kevin. Because Kevin got a hold of me because Kevin is Kevin. Kevin heard about TikTok and he wanted to learn TikTok, and I was the TikTok guy at that moment. And and I obviously wanted to get better at. I was scared to talk to Kevin the first time, like starstruck, like I was a huge Kevin fan, totally undeserving of it looking back. But at the time, I thought a lot of him. No, I'm just kidding. He's an awesome guy. And then my whole thought was like, okay, he got a hold of me. And then I don't remember how I got a hold of Dave, but me and Dave, like the first conversation clicked, like you just knew. And then Dave's like a doer. So like we pretty much had a podcast set up, and his only rule was, you don't miss a week, and he was listening to me and Don's podcast, which we had a podcast called the American Arbitrage Podcast, which was only on audio, but it's like on Spotify. And he was listening to that and liked it, and he wanted to do one. So we did it, and we did like 7-8 episodes. And then Kevin got a hold of us and he liked it. And we said, come on. And my whole thing was like, my whole thought the whole time was like, we can't treat him like a sacred cow. We can't we can't walk on, we have to treat him like we got to give him a hard time and see if he can take it. Cause like, I don't want to be on him like, oh, Kevin, thank you for being, you know what I mean? Even though that's kind of how I felt. So I was like, let's see how he can take it, like being one of the, brothers, you just tease each other or whatever. So let's see. And he loves it. Like, that's the funny thing I think people don't realize is like after the show, he'll be like, if he does rewatch it, he'll be like, oh, I didn't even catch that. That was awesome. I think sometimes we go too far. Like, I think he was genuinely annoyed with us the last episode. But that's fun.
That's the one where he left for a few minutes.
Should be annoyed. You should be annoyed with us more, honestly.
Is that based on the did y'all read the comment stuff from this one? Did y'all
Yeah.
actually read the comments?
Yeah, there's always a couple things that like you could tell he's legitimately annoyed about, which is kind of like a badge of honor. If we can get him actually a little bit perturbed, it's like, God, yes, we did it. Yay.
Yeah. I think I commented in there, poor Kevin. That's all I said. It was just poor Kevin. I felt bad for him.
We're making him a sympathetic figure. That's what we're
That's
doing.
right.
We started out by trying to make him human because he was such a robot before, and then now we're trying to make him. It's weird to have sympathy for that man, but yeah, I think people are starting. He's doing really well, guys. He's all right. Trust me, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Yes, he withdraws from that hour of time and goes back to making all that money again, right?
Yeah, he'll be okay. He needs that to just keep him level-headed. He's got nothing but people telling him how great he is. 6 days and 23 hours a week, and then 1 hour. You just got to keep him level-headed.
Reality check. That's it.
It's a little reality check.
We should role play right here. Like Josh, you could be Kevin. You handle that badge of anger pretty well. So you could be Kevin. You're short enough. You can be angry enough. You was a teacher. Like you could be Kevin.
Kevin was a failed teacher, if we're being honest. He did fail.
There you go.
Right? Failed baseball player.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're Kevin. I'll be Dave, although I'm not assertive enough and like I can't take direction and all that like Dave can. So, okay, I fell at that one, but you can be Kevin, Cary yourself.
Yeah, I just go. Myself. Dave is the most important part of that podcast, though, in all seriousness. And like that's the hardest spot. Like where you are right now.
Are y'all gonna let me talk?
What's up?
Are y'all gonna let me talk?
No, we're talking.
That's how we do it.
Speaking.
Go ahead, dude.
No.
He's just trying to fulfill his
role, man.
This is my role. Like, here's the cardinal sin of podcasting, in my opinion, is silence. And maybe like there should be a little bit occasionally, but I think that's and this could be wrong, but in my opinion, I think that's the worst part of a podcast is if there's like, it's better to step on someone's toes and overspeak, in my opinion. And I'm probably wrong a little bit. It's probably could be timed better and be a little bit more professional, but I think that's what makes a podcast really listenable long-term is like just having like going from thing to thing to thing. And then Dave's really good at that. Dave is always on it. Like Dave is the engine. Like, cause if when he leaves sometimes and it's me and Kevin, we're like, not that we can't do it, but we're also relying so much on Dave. Yeah. Cause Dave will just feed us stuff. And then Dave allows me just to sit around and wait for a joke and then sit around and wait for a joke and sit around and wait for a joke basically.
Yeah. He's just like a pinball,
It's the ADHD, I think, or something. Yep, all the cottage cheese he's eating. Maybe it's messing with his brain or something.
Yeah, a little backed up.
Probably a lot of backed up, dude.
Okay, I'll be Dave. I went to a theme park the other. No, I'm just kidding.
He never talks about
Disney World, all that good stuff. Living the life down there.
Dude, I'm excited. That's one of the main things I'm excited for down in Florida. Is I want to go to the theme park with them. I'm not like as much of I'll go on the rides, but I don't really care as much. I just like, I love the people watching. I love being around people who are excited. Like people who are like, they're having like the best day of the year or the best day of the last couple months. Like they're on vacation. So everybody's in a good mood. So there's like, it's a palpable energy there. That's kind of contagious. And it's serotonin a little bit. Like you go there and you can't help but be in a good mood. Even if you don't go on ride, you could just be walking around and it's just kind of fun. Yeah. And, I'll get a pass, I imagine. So it won't be like I could just go whenever and I don't have to worry about how much the ticket is or whatever. So I hope that's what I want to do.
I don't think I've been to a theme park in like 15 or 20 years. Like I'm an old fuddy dud. Like I don't do fun stuff anymore.
I never was a big theme park person. I mean, I kind of like you said, I don't do the rides a whole lot. I mean, I have done them. We used to go to Six Flags sometimes, and I think I've rode pretty much everything there at least once. But the last time or two that I've gone to places like that, I just enjoy just walking around. I just enjoy being there, just the being with family. I like the other stuff that's going on, the little side shows and things like that. And I mean, I'll get on a ride, but it's just that's not so much my cup of tea.
I hear you.
I think
like going to the stores and like seeing what they have for sale. Not necessarily, sometimes I definitely am always thinking about flipping, but how many people are flipping? Like if I go to Disney World and there's clearance, everybody's going to know that. But it is fun to see like what's being sold, even if it's not stuff that you can buy to flip. It's good to know, oh man, they're making, like, I didn't know they were making, like, obviously everybody knows about Disney pins now, but there's like different products. They start making different lines of plushes, lines of toys. It kind of educates you a little bit on what you may, especially like if I'm in Florida, they're going to be at yard sales at some point. You're going to, like, if I see a certain figure that looks a little odd, like I know like Star Wars did a lot of these weren't actually very valuable, turns out, but they did like these die-cast metal figures for years that were, I think, Disney store ones. So like that's something you could find more if you're in those areas, and you can kind of educate yourself on picking.
Yeah.
Well,
I think places like Disney, I think they underestimate too how much reselling has maybe even improved the market for them, because I know a lot of folks are buying that stuff up to resell, but a lot of it, there's so many collectors of various things. Like there's no telling how many Disney collectors there are that have never got to go to Disney World or Disneyland, either one, but they love Disney stuff, that whether it's the plushes, the pins, whatever, they just like collecting the stuff. And so I have no doubt that that's had a huge influence on growing the market, even for them through the secondary level, because it pulls more stuff into the market overall.
Yeah. It's free advertisement for them. And they've already they already made the first, they already made the sale and made so, and if it was discounted, that's, and then it got sold for more on the secondary market, then that's something they can look into to make sure maybe they got to improve their websites or sell on eBay or something themselves. But, that's some opportunity for them if they're worried about it. But outside of that, it's really all positive for them. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the secondary market, so me and Tanya went to a really high-end community sale Saturday. Logan was with us, my son. And in Franklin, Tennessee, like that's where a lot of your country music people and, Nashville stars and all that live.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the community itself is rich, but there's like 1,000-acre subdivision in there. I can't remember the name of it, but they've got their own little city. Like it's like the homes have probably 12 feet between them. They're $1 million plus homes. Like the streets are super tight. Like my truck and this other vehicle, it was just hard to get through. Like it was like super duper nice. Well, I rolled up. I didn't have any, you go to this 1 yard sale, and it seems like every time we go, I'll have one score, at least one really good score, where I'll buy up like 30, 40 things to sell, 50 things, whatever, just a bulk deal. Well, I didn't have any of that. But I rolled up on this one. Me and Logan got out, and this guy didn't have a whole lot of much, but he had clothes and he had hats. And I'm looking through the hats, and they're all new era. They're all brand new, really nice. These logo hats, but they're Mexican sports teams. And I'm like, hey, this is interesting. Like I wasn't super familiar, but as I was looking at them, I'm like, this is a really interesting, sale. So I've already got like 5 or 6 of them in my hand. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, if I buy a bunch of these, you make me a deal. He said, sure. So I'm digging through, and I'm telling you, everything had tags on it, brand new. So I'm sitting there pondering, like, I'm fixing to buy everything he's got. All of his sports shirts, all of his hats, beanies, everything. If he makes me the right price, I'm going to buy it all. As I'm thinking that, he says, what do you plan on doing with this stuff? I'm like, oh, I'm going to resell it. I sell on eBay. And he's like, oh, well, then I can't sell it to you. And I'm like, you're what? You can't sell it to me. He said, I work for New Era. I'm a distributor, and we can't resell the stuff we have. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what you're doing right here at your yard sale. You're reselling the stuff you have.
He doesn't want to get caught for resale.
Doesn't want to get caught. He said, if I let you sell it on eBay, they will trace it back to me and fire me. I'm like, okay, well, it's your stuff. You can do what you want to with it. But he said he had like 3 other resellers already come by trying to buy it, and he had to turn them all down. I'm like, dude, that's what you're going to get all day. That's what you're going to get all day long, is somebody want to buy all of it. Because he was going to sell them to me for like $3 a piece, brand new. And some of them New Era hats, even the ones that ain't like super great, will sell for $20, $25, $30. And I was like, man, this could be killer. And I walked away, and I'm sitting there going, gosh, I'm talking, he had tons of NFL shirts too, beanies. Like it would have been at least 100 listings, and I might have had a couple $100 in it and had a couple $1,000 worth of profit. I walk away and I'm talking to Logan. I'm like, dadgummit, you know, like I really want all that stuff. And I even told him I did try this little trick. No, I wasn't trying to be dishonest. I was trying to think of a way I could incorporate it in without actually reselling. I said, well, you know, I could do giveaways on Whatnot and stuff with this. I said, you know what that is? He's like, yeah. And he still wouldn't sell it to me. So like, oh, well, I tried.
Well, they probably wouldn't, honestly, like on Whatnot, they probably wouldn't have noticed. I'm sure they're probably only monitoring like the classical buy it now sites. And at those prices too, I mean, he probably wouldn't want to do it still, but like at those prices, you could take, I know this sounds crazy, but you could take the tags off, sell them like new. And they would still go for $5, $6, $7 less per, but they're in great condition. And at $3 a pop, you would still make a profit. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know there's like a brand called Top of the World that does hats. Yeah. I sometimes come across a bunch of those, especially in this area. I think it might be a Utah company or something. But that's just, I guess the distributors just donate them at a certain point, like the different, what are they called? Like the samples and different things they have. And then you can try to sell them. I've never had a lot of luck with them, but some of them look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I wasn't familiar that New Era was a company that didn't want you reselling their stuff. So I even told the guy, I said, you know, do they have anything in the way of Veros? Like, you know, on eBay, will they take your stuff down? Because I've sold a ton of New Era stuff and never had a problem with it getting taken down. He's like, no, I don't even know what that is. And I'm like, that's so
what
weird.
It is like if he gave you a bunch of hats and it kind of flooded a certain market or something, they might notice. Not that I don't think you'd get a Vero. I think they would get mad at him. Honestly, I don't think you'd get a Vero, but you know, Veros can kind of just come out of nowhere though. Like any company I imagine can do it. You know, it's just why would they be felt like they need to. Some companies are just very picky and, you know, they're well known as being a problem, but New Era, I think they would probably, I mean, I'm sure there's been people there. I think there has been people who've gotten Veros for New Era, but I imagine it's probably for some certain situations, not something that we had probably come across selling a normal amount, you know, that we find here and there, in my opinion. Right. And I'm the guy who worries about, I used to worry about Veros all the time. And I got a couple early on, you know, never very close to each other. So never really was in any big trouble, but I don't think we've had Veros for 7-8 years at this point. I'm very like I've actually calmed down a little bit. As one of the nice things about having more reselling platforms and social media making money is I'm less worried about eBay as much as I used to be. You know, it's I honestly don't think it would matter if we did eBay or not anymore at this point. Like I don't think it's necessary. I think it's still the best, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you have to have eBay to make a living reselling anymore. It's just not. It's just and I think it's going to become more and more that way as time goes on.
Yeah,
it's just
spreading out.
Without a doubt. I mean, I've met several resellers at the events that don't use eBay at all. I mean, so it blows my mind. I mean, because like for me, that's where I started, and that's all that I do primarily. But there's people that only do Poshmark and people that do almost 100% Whatnot now. Like you said,
I feel like we're in the beginning of the nichification of reselling, meaning like eBay is the everything place, and it's still the best place to sell. I would say overall by far, but like I love the whole district model, or at least the idea of what the district model is doing. Whether it will work or not is going to see. It's working right now pretty decently. But like the whole idea is there's like a Discord for Kevin for just these lots, right? Dibbed is what me and Dave and Kevin like. So like I could go in there and I probably will at some point, like bargain box cards, you know, and then do deals with people selling bargain box cards. Like you can nichify it to exactly what you're into. And then you don't really have to have a ton of people in there as long as they're all people who are interested. So it could maybe not just like a video game site, but it's like hey, we're looking only for RPG video games, or this is a sports only video game site, right. Or, you know, like I think there's a lot of room for that, because then you're just getting all the buyers that were everywhere else in a specific place. And they've done this for years in Facebook groups, but I feel like places like District are really figuring it out, like how to an easy way for you to just, before you go on a Facebook group and then you got to figure out payments. Do I trust this person? Is it, and you know, District this is not an ad for District, but like District will, make sure you get refunded and everything. So it takes away a lot of the friction. I just think, and the Whatnot is huge. It's a totally different business. And I get why people don't like it, because I don't sell stuff for as much as I do on Buy It Now, but I sell stuff. People forget about that a lot. You go out and you get a haul, right? You get a great haul, 100 items, and you're selling them here and there. Most people aren't selling all 100. Like a lot of it becomes just stuff that sits in your store and you never realize profit. You could, if you auctioned it off or if you kept lowering it, eventually you probably could get rid of everything. But a lot of that just becomes unrealized profit. Whatnot, everything's gone. So you're taking less, but everything you buy can be gone. Everything. Right. You don't have to have a storage. You don't have to have that overhead. You don't have to have a massive inventory, which is good and bad. You want to have a little bit of an inventory for safety purposes. But like, I don't know. There's like so many cool things to do nowadays. And I'm getting into other things. Like there's this site for cards called Collects, which you may have heard me talk about, Card Dealer Pro, the scanner I use and everything. I scan my cards in. I can scan all those cards and then put them on the Collects app. And then basically it's like a card only selling platform. And like, I put like 12 cards up and sold 4 already. Like I was actually surprised. To be fair, I don't know if that has a little to do with my following. I don't know. But like that, if it's like even remotely close to eBay, that's really interesting idea as well. You can build up your Instagram and sell through Instagram. I mean, there's so many things you can do.
Oh yeah. That's pretty
I think
cool.
you're right with District though. I got to talk with Ivan about it, and the vision that he has for how it's supposed to work. I mean, if it really comes together like they have it laid out, I mean, it's got tons and tons of potential, because like you said, of the specialization aspect within it, because most people aren't getting on eBay and just randomly scrolling through listings. I mean, they're going directly to, or they've got notifications set up. I mean, that's why there's certain things when you list it. I mean, you immediately get offers, you immediately get watchers, because they got their notifications set. They're in the market for that particular niche, that particular item, and they're looking to get a deal too. So, I mean, if you can bring all those people together, like he talked about, into one location where it's only those items, they know that's all they're going to see when they get there. It really just makes sense.
Absolutely. I kind of felt like eBay in the modern world, eBay used to be this place you could go, hopefully get this item. Like you're going to bid on this item, you really want it and whatever. eBay has almost, to me, become the place you're going to find something that you're not going to find anywhere else. Like it is where people drop stuff. I mean, just like I'm over here looking at stuff that we bought this week, and some of this stuff, you don't see a ton of it on eBay, but you won't see it at all on Amazon or Walmart or Poshmark, or you might see it on Mercari a little bit. But eBay is still the king of that type of stuff. Like, I don't want to call it rare, but the more desirable, hard to find type stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that stuff may make its way through places like Whatnot and District and all that. But man, eBay just, it's in people's minds already. Well, I really need this old 1947 hubcap for my truck, whatever. Well, check eBay. That's the first thought. Check eBay.
But it's also, you've also got to think it's in people's minds that are our age and older.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll talk to a 20-year-old, and probably half of them are buying on other sites, if not more than half. They're going on Depop. They're going to. So, I mean, eBay's a monolith. It takes them time to change to anything. But I think it would be smart for them to implement some of the features from all of these sites that are, maybe not try to compete with them, because Amazon kind of, like I wouldn't try to compete with Amazon. I think that was foolish.
Yeah.
Effort into that. It's just, they're not Amazon. But, I would start implementing things here and there. Like the eBay Live, I still don't think is really as good as it should be. I mean, it has so much potential. There's no reason why they couldn't figure out how to just have, on District, we can do live auctions, guys. Like on District, a small site. I mean, they're a big site, but they're not anywhere as big as eBay. Yeah. Why can't eBay do that? Why? I mean, they don't want to deal with probably all the thousands. But they could have a very strict set of rules to get on the lives,
Yeah.
Why they wouldn't do that. It seems like the perfect place for a live auction would be eBay.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's really been so I mean, early on, I think eBay with the auctions, though they weren't live, when it was all auction, it was it was a way to have a connection to kind of that excitement you feel when you go to an estate auction or to an auction house, and you could do it from home. And then, you know, all those things started kind of dying out, I think, because of eBay. There's not, I mean, we still have estate sales, but very rarely do we have an actual estate auction around here anymore. Yeah. And when I was a kid, nearly all of them were auctions. When my dad was going, it was all auctions. You had to register, you had your, you know, you went and you bid. And, you know, and so I think it's transitioned there, but now the live auction part is online again, you know, and like you said, it's lower, maybe lower quality goods, but it's just that excitement. It's just that fun time of getting this, there's a different atmosphere connected to live auction. It's just different. And so they're bringing that back around.
We went to that live auction up the road. Like, that's one of the first ones I've ever been to, really. But man, I got so many tools at that auction. I sold one today, and I'm all about the profit, right? Like, I don't, Cary said this a while ago, like the potential profit, but then there's actual profit too. So I had this tool that I had listed for $100. I've had it on there for a month. Guy sends me an offer for $75. I've got $5 in it. I'm like, you know, I can have 75 now, or I can maybe have 90 6 months down the road. You know, just weigh that out, whatever matters most.
Did you take the 75?
I did, absolutely.
That's the way you do it, because the way you got to, in my opinion, the way you got to think about it, say you get 90 in 6 months, so that's $15 more, right? Yeah. Hopefully you would take that, whatever that is after fees, $55 profit, 50, 60, whatever, and you go buy stuff, and then you're flipping that over 3 times before that 6 months, and you end up with $200 instead of 90. I mean, it's just all, I mean, technically we're using, I mean, like, but still, I just think that's how you have to do it. When it's a fair, reasonable offer, I would have taken less probably than even 75 if it had been up for a month or two. If it was like the day, and there's all so much nuance. If it's the day it's listed and it was 2 minutes after you listed it, I might up the price if I got a $75 offer right away. I'd be like, okay, this guy's trying to get me. Why? Okay, let me look. Oh, I'm underpriced. Okay, it's now 125. So there's some nuance to it. But in general, like if it's been up for a little, and it's a reasonable offer based on what you pay, because you make the money in the purchase. If you had bought that at $75 to hoping to make $10 selling it for 100, then you can't. I mean, you could take a loss, but you can't make money selling it that way. But you bought it at 5. You had all. You weren't in a situation where you couldn't lose. You can give a person the deal of the lifetime at $40, which would be way underpriced, and they would have got it. They'd be so happy, and you'd still be profitable. I'm not saying you should do it, but like there was like no way you could lose at that.
Well, since we're making confessions, I got an offer on my Bratz doll for $180, and I didn't take it.
So what do you have?
$2 in it. I've got it listed at $300. I countered back at $200, and they went silent.
Dude,
oh man,
why would you do that?
I don't know. I regret. As soon as I hit submit, I looked at my wife and said, "I think I just messed up."
Now you really are acting like Kevin.
Yeah, it's one thing if you countered at 280 and like you really don't want to come off the 300, but if you were coming down $100, go down 120. Dude.
I know.
Do yourself a favor.
I know. I knew I messed up when I done it.
It's tough.
I think I could sell quick at 200 if I drop it, because I've had a ton of interest, but.
And it goes both ways too. I have gotten home, realized I made a mistake on a purchase, and sold it for a loss the day I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think we've all
less than what I paid, because
it happened.
Yeah, you just have to, because like even experts in this are going to take some chances, or you know, there's also the whole angle of content creation where like you're out spending time, and time is money, and you want a video, so you may be buying stuff that's on the edge of being worth it, to say the least. You know, you might be like, you know, it's a cool Ninja Turtle lot, you know, I'll maybe make 25 and it's $15. I don't know, I'll get it. I'll try to get it for $10, and you know, maybe if you weren't filming you wouldn't buy it, to be honest, but like since you're filming, you're gonna buy it, because there is some profit there, and I'm okay with doing that myself, because you know, the fact that it's worth $25 doesn't change. You can debate whether I paid too much, but hopefully you're going out and finding similar stuff for less. But the idea that that item still has value, it doesn't change.
There you go. Still what you should be looking for, even if not at
what
that
you
price.
should be looking for, debate, or even question what I paid, or even just say that was dumb. But
I think, like you said,
a valuable thing to know about.
Right. I think, like you said earlier too, though, even as long as you, I mean, you don't want to take a loss for sure. Even in that case, you want to try to avoid taking a loss. But even if you have to, even if you have to pump stuff out through Whatnot or some other, you know, type of auction type site to just get the money back that you got invested. You know, I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's something to be said for that. I mean, because like you said, I source way more than I'm able to get listed. Even when I feel like I'm really dialing back and I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to source. And then you make the stop because you got to go in and make sure there's not, like you said, that $2 item that's worth $150 that's just sitting there in front of you. So, you make your quick pass through and look for those obvious things, to find. But I still end up, I just have so much more than I can get to. And I know, like, I haven't did Whatnot yet. I've got registered and set up, but that's kind of where I've been looking at that. Like a lot of the things that are in that, $20 or less, value wise, that I've got, $1 or less in. I mean, I'm thinking, that's the sweet spot for that stuff because I can move it fast. I still probably will make a decent profit overall. And I think like you said, like diversifying and having your space in different areas, having a space in maybe in DivDit or space in Whatnot, space in eBay, space in Poshmark, Depop, whatever. It allows you to kind of monopolize those markets where they're best, where they best fit your model. Because, eBay, like Caleb said, eBay is great for especially specialty items still. I mean, it's one of the best places and probably the best overall market. But there are sites, like I don't know about, I've not used Depop, but I know Depop, like with vintage clothing and stuff, can be a really good place to go to get kind of your maximum price for some of those things that are really trendy. So, if you really do this thing right, then that's part of the process in order to maximize your profit. But, getting into all those, that's the issue, is getting all the work done to, I guess the learning too, the learning, the separation, getting it set up.
I don't think you can say you're a successful reseller though, unless you list on Bonanza. That is required. I think that's a requirement.
That's like Bonanza's so fascinating to me because Bonanza's been around for a long time. And back in the day, it was like maybe one of the only couple options outside of eBay to sell, kind of like be an anything seller. Amazon was a slightly different model. I used to kill on Amazon. I remember when I first met Don, I was at the auction house doing my auctions and I'd be in the auction room on a day we didn't have an auction and I'd have 75 shipments to do for Amazon for a day.
Wow.
Fulfillment by merchant. I had an ungated account I just abandoned because I don't know, I didn't like it. It really wasn't something I thought anything about. I just stopped doing it. And just one day I just went on vacation, came back, and I didn't open up the app to sell on anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember the details. I'm sure I had whittled it down to where I wasn't posting much at that point. But there was a time in like 13, 14, 15 where Amazon for fulfillment and I'm sure you could still do that hustle. It was pretty insane. I was doing the Mary Kay buyouts. That was my big thing that I had found out early on in my reselling career is go find the people who failed at Mary Kay, which there's a lot of them. And buy out all of their Mary Kay. And then and technically they don't let you do that anymore. But at the time it was a little more Wild West on Amazon. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's just like the Mary Kay's kind of cracked down on that. And there was a Wild West. I'm sure a lot of people are still selling Mary Kay but like there was a time where if I found Mary Kay, it's just an interesting thing to me too. At that time, I was so new at reselling. I was so excited about finding stuff that was so easily flippable. Oh, yeah. Now if I found that, even if I knew I could make money, I'd probably buy it, but it's not that whatever that feeling was I had as a newer reseller, that's not there no more. It's not there anymore. And even if there's money there, it's just like, it's not as, I don't know what it is.
The problem is this, do you do like, is it one of those things that goes on the shelf and then you have a hard time getting yourself to list it or do anything with it?
Now,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like now, because you see the profit there, so you feel compelled to have to buy it, but because it's not something you really enjoy processing or going through, it's just sitting there because there's other stuff you like better that you're going to always pick ahead of it as long as you've got it.
The longer I've sold, the more I've realized there is money in every single niche. So why not just focus on the stuff that I like? Because I can find what you look for. I could go spend the same amount of time I would going to thrift stores, just going to card shops or a card show and find exactly what I like to sell. Yeah. And it's cards are hard though. Like outside of the bargain boxing, it gets harder when you get up because everybody, like the whole market is very wonky. I take a lot more risks on cards, just hoping I know I got a good deal, but I might start it at $2, so I'm not praying, but like, I'm hoping that it's a $40 card. So it could go for $15 or it could go for 60. And I've definitely or 100. And I've definitely had both happen, often. So but I like to think of a lot of what I'm doing on like Whatnot with cards as I'm trying to build something. I have people that I look up to in the card creating space that are constantly doing these like Whatnot auctions, for example, anytime auctions, and they're just selling cool stuff. I want to be that spot. I want to leverage my following to be a place where people can find the cards I dig that I think they'll dig, and then hopefully that'll make a place where I can consistently get what the cards are worth at least. So, and then I'm going to buy them for less because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning and what made me think of this was you was talking about that feeling that you got back when you found the Mary Kay and you knew you could do something with it, make a little money. And it is exciting when you first start. It's exciting when you learn, oh man, there's money. Like there's money in this stuff. And a lot of people just give it away, throw it away, donate it, whatever. So I woke up this morning, I had dreamed, and this is no lie, I had dreamed that I was at a yard sale. And there was absolutely nothing at this yard sale until I bent down in this box and I'm digging stuff out and I'm finding like sealed Nintendo 64 games and a sealed Nintendo 64,
literally,
and I'm finding all the like Sega Saturn and all this crazy stuff that you don't find sealed up like that. Then I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the feeling. I felt that in my dream, like the excitement was
rush. Yeah.
Like I had the adrenaline pumping while I was asleep, and I wake up and I'm like nearly
that
shaking. Like, why can't that be real?
That is a big part that I think is talked about sometimes, but that is a big part of this business because I feel like there's easier jobs to get into, more stable, more boring jobs, and we're all we're all treasure hunters, man. We would have been pirates in your life. We would have been on there looking for gold. That's what we are. There's something in there, and there's no doubt. Like I feel like there is at some level for all of us at some point. There's an unhealthy chase for that feeling, to where like you're having a bad day out thrifting or garage selling, and you maybe should pack it up and go home and list your death pile, right? That's the responsible thing to do. Still out hunting because you're chasing that feeling.
Yeah,
just even if like it might end up being a $5 find worth $25, and that'll have to work for that day. But like sometimes you're just chasing that feeling, even though you should be doing something a little bit more productive for your business. I know I've been there many times in my life, just like loving the hunt so much that I neglect some of the actual practicality of the business,
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite part.
I'm doing that right now.
The podcast is the cool thing about podcasts, though. You guys are monetized, right, on your podcast?
Just barely.
Well, there you go. You could what I'm saying is like you can say like we're building something and we're making a little money as we build it. So I think you can consider it a good use of time, is what I'm saying.
I was just talking about my laziness and not listing, actually. But that too.
Oh, sorry. It's not even though, Caleb. It's not even really laziness for you or like a lot of us. It's like you're doing other stuff. So it's like time a normal person would relax. Like historically, you watch like the old TV shows and people get home from work and then they're sitting watching TV, right? And spending time with their family or eating dinner. Like a lot of that time that has, I think naturally we want to unwind is the time where especially if you're doing other jobs and when you're a content creator, you are doing another job, or if you obviously like you literally have another job, Caleb, as a pastor. So like the time that you unwind, you need to work a little bit to be successful in this. So it gives you less time to chill. So I don't really feel like you're being lazy. You're just, choosing your self-care a little bit, sometimes more than you probably mentally want to, because you want to blow up whatever you're doing on the reselling side.
Yeah. That's the issue. That's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, it's hard, like for me, I've told Caleb this, and I've said this too many times on here in the past, but I'm used to putting like, cause I don't sleep a whole lot. I'm like a 4 or 5 hour guy. Like I'm going all the time. I stay up late. It's how I've always been, super high energy.
Not lying.
I'm used to
in the morning every night when he was here.
I'm used to giving like 110% to everything, but I've had so many things going on, and like, I really don't want to ride this. It's not a pity thing, but like the thing with mom, it's demanding and not demanding at the same time. But it keeps me from keeping my attention kind of unilaterally focused on any one thing all day long. So, I'm always divided, plus the other things that are going on as well, other things that are having to do. And I think for me, the frustrating part is seeing the potential, but not being able to put the time into it to make it happen. You know, whether it's the eBay side, the content creation side, I feel like it's 2 steps away from me, and I'm always chasing behind it because I can't acquire enough time to really make it happen yet. I feel like it's going to get there, both things at some point, but life's going to have to be simplified. It might be a year from now, 2 years from now. It's just the place I'm at.
I think life gets harder and also better at the same time when you start to understand how unlimited like potential there is out there for good in your life beyond reselling even. So like I think you could talk to anybody in our booths who are doing content and also reselling. Maybe the hardest thing, you might have just really hit the nail on the head there. Maybe the hardest thing about this is constantly knowing you can do more. There's like, even when you're massively successful, you could be more massively successful. You could, like Harry Tornado is doing great, but he could, there's other levels. Mr. Beast he's the biggest YouTuber in the world. He could have more views. Why not? There's more people in the world. Like you just could never. You're always going to be chasing that. And I think the hard part is having peace with yourself to go, it's enough today, or I did all those things that could happen with your channel and growing your business will be there tomorrow. And you do a little bit towards it today if you're inspired. Maybe that feeling inspires you to do a little, but then just go like that. I'm going to do a little, and then say that I'm working towards it. And sometimes I think that's because I'm constantly like I could do more, and it's with content especially and reselling. You list 5 things and you sell 3 things. You need to find 5 more things to list, or things to list. With content, like it feels like I put out a video and then I'm on a timer to put out another video. And if it gets a certain amount of days, like you told me you hadn't done a video in like 3 weeks, Caleb. So you were paying attention, at least in the back of your mind, how long it had been. Like it nags at you at a certain level. Like I feel like I'm able to go like 3 or 4 days on my channels before it starts becoming something. And then like my card one, I have to keep up because I have good momentum there, and I want to. But my other channel has been so long; it's been like a month now that I'm like I guess then it gets to be so much time that it becomes harder to do it again. So it's like a constant thing. It like never ends. It never ends for any of us on that aspect, and we just have to make peace with it, I think.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I feel like I've let everybody down by not creating one. Like it, the camera's sitting right here, and it's just not getting used.
I think that's in our head, though. I was thinking about that too. Like I think that's in our head. I think the people who watch our content will be there when we make it, and will be happy to see it. Now, if it's been a long time, they'll possibly have missed our content and everything. But I just like think about it this way: like the people who you follow regularly, you're not usually upset that they haven't produced for a few weeks. A lot of times you don't even notice because there's other people you're watching. It might come a point where you're like, hey, has he done anything recently or she? So I think a lot of that's just in our head, like the amount of people who are even thinking about us per se. You know what I mean?
Unless you're Osborne, then you disappear.
Osborne disappeared completely.
Yeah, unless you just disappear,
But just think I think a lot of Josh who changed his name. I don't know if you guys know who he is. Josh Kim, I think is his name. He had a YouTube channel 5 years ago, massively successful, maybe like the second or third wave of YouTube resellers. And then he just stopped for a year. He keeps doing this over and over. He stops for a year and comes back. And every time he comes back, he gets following again. But I noticed like YouTube kind of changes on him. Like I think he has to update his style a little bit because it's different than 5 years ago, probably if he wants to grow, if that's what he's looking for. But like the people are still there, though. There's a certain amount of people that just will always be there because they're a fan of this person. Yeah. So it's interesting how that works. I don't totally understand it, though.
Yeah, I don't either. I hadn't heard of him. I have to look him up.
Yeah, it's Josh Kim. I think he used to go by a lot of Josh. I don't even know if he's stopped again. Like, because he does like, it seems like he'll do like 3 or 4 videos and then just be gone for another year. And then do that, but like all of us who do content can kind of relate to that. like you get into it, and then you're like, so there comes a point where I don't know if it's burnout or just pressure or just other things in life. It's harder to do videos in certain parts of the year,
right?
And easier, and then you get in grooves. The best people are like Kevin when it comes to that. Like they have built in such habits.
Yeah.
They get so far ahead that like Kevin could not be in the mood to do a picker video for 3 months, but he has 3 months of videos already done and edited. So he doesn't have to. He just, so like if it's almost like when you're in that mood, you're in that zone, do extra and save them. For when you're not in that mode, because people don't realize you're not there, even like you're not actually physically doing the new videos. They don't realize, unless you're talking about like something that happened 7 months ago and you put it, like a world event or something. But
that's wild. No, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I think, just backpedaling just a little bit. I think part of it too, you mentioned this early on, is remembering whatever it is we're doing, that it's a blessing. And, it's usually, if we start seeing it as a burden, it's because we got our eyes in the wrong place. We're giving too much attention to the wrong aspect of it. And I really do think, just having time to step back and recalibrate, get the perspective back in view, is so important sometimes, because I mean, for all the pressures and all the downsides of where I'm at now, in some ways, like what I want to be able to do versus what I can't do. When I go back and I look at, 2 years ago where I was at, and in the classroom and doing that, like, okay, so do I want to be there, or is this really a blessing that I'm here? I may not have the time to commit to it like I want, but man, I'm excited about where I'm at and the big picture. And I think, that's part of the drive. Like you said too, it can kind of be part of the pressure that pushes us down, because you see what it can do, but it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing to be in a place that you want to be and be able to see potential. I mean, when I was in the classroom those 18 years, you kind of feel like, as much as I enjoyed it, and that, you're investing in something different besides income potential and that kind of stuff. I mean, you're investing in the kids. And I mean, I get that. I mean, I've seen kids do wonderful, but some become doctors and pharmacists and lawyers and all these wonderful accomplishments, got big scholarships, and you write these letters for them and they're super successful, and that's very fulfilling in its own way. But then as far as career wise, it's one of the only careers where, unless you're going to be an administrator, you feel like after so many years, you've just been stuck in this rut. It don't matter how hard you work, how far you advance your education. If you're in the classroom teaching, you're still just a classroom teacher with a bunch of papers hanging on the wall, and you're doing the same thing every day. And it don't matter, like as far as for personal advancement, you can be the hardest working, the most prepared, do the best job, and you start the next year at the same level and the same level and the same level. And the person that's doing half the work you are, that's been teaching the same amount of time as you, they're in the same place you are, no matter how much you're going to work your way up to anything, So I like that about this. I mean, that's been very fulfilling to me, is that when I put the time into this, I see the result, and so that's a blessing to me, because it's energizing me about doing work again, because I had reached a point, with teaching the last year or two, with everything else that's going on, I was kind of getting burnt out. So, I'm not burnt out. If anything, I'm fired up. I just don't have enough time to devote that energy to it right now, but we'll get there eventually.
I think what you're saying is really important too. It's like when you quit a full-time, or when you stop doing full-time work, you're trading kind of like, because Don felt this a lot too. You're trading kind of like, you're basically exchanging. So you lose the job that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, but you're exchanging that feeling for potential. So now you have the potential, but the thing that you don't think about a lot is the pressure that comes along with that. It's a different kind of pressure, because you're not getting a check every 2 weeks necessarily. You have to make the money, like literally, or it's not there physically. So I talked to Dave a lot about this, and he's doing great, man. But like, it's just like, it's a different thing. Like, you have to be on a schedule, which is not my strong suit. And my schedule is very unique for me. Like, I'm a late night guy and I sleep in, but it works for me. I get a lot of work done when most people are sleeping. That's just how it's always been for me. That's just, no matter what I try to do, I always end up in that same pattern, like it's meant to be. But it's tough, man. But like, I think it's really, you have to look back and think about that, as hard as, and people think, people are striving so hard to be full-timers, so many people, and you're exchanging problems.
Yeah.
But the difference is, our problems have a lot more potential. Like, we could deal with all these problems, but we all know if we work harder, we can make more on content. If we work harder, we can make more reselling. If we're more organized, it's going to actually turn into money. Whereas like you see with teaching, or most jobs, where they just kind of stall you out at some point, it doesn't matter what you do. And even when you do your best, they could just downsize because they're not making profit, and then you're gone no matter how good you were. Yeah. And now, if we're not making enough to pay the bills, we pretty much know who to blame. It's ourselves. Yeah. It's not necessarily a company, which is a pro and a con, right? Like it's the more pressure on us, but we have much more fulfilling when it works.
And the awesome part, if you do your job well and you source well, then all you got to do to turn it around is get up and kick yourself in the butt and list like a mad dog for 3 or 4 days in a row, and it immediately turns around. You don't have to wait 3 months for it to get better. You list 50, 60 items a day, 2 or 3 days in a row, and you're going to see a huge influx in sales if you had not been listing the days before that. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And that's a very empowering feeling to know that, and I think what Caleb said earlier, the fact that because we're in that position, if we need to ever hit pause to do something else, like I love that I can hit pause. And while I had time off, because we have the holidays and, the shortened schedule, because, the 9-month contract or whatever, like I had days off of the school part, but it's all scheduled, everything. And I mean, I'm not complaining about that, but I'm just saying, like, you can't really just decide, oh, well, I think I want to go to this event, or I think I want to go do this at this particular time of year. Well, we're in school. I can't just take off 4 days in a row from my classroom, I mean, it's just not what you do. So I like that. I like the flexibility of it. I think that's been one of the things that's helped me tremendously. Like it's even though I'm working probably more than I ever have, I think at the end of the day, I get to say when I don't want to work. If I want to take 3 days off, I take 3 days off, do something with family, go on a little trip, whatever, Yep.
Well, let's do something a little different that we haven't done this show, because I said last week I was going to start throwing these in the middle, and now I've waited till the end again to do any segments whatsoever. So.
It's all right. It's been good.
It'd be tough to do segments with a trash to cash guy, trust me.
Yeah. It does help. So let's read our comments of the week. I had one I really liked a lot, and I'm sure John.
I got the same one, so go ahead and read it. I don't like part of it, but I mean, it was okay. It's the same one.
So this is, I'm assuming this, how you say this, MD McVeigh said, I really enjoy the show. I've been listening for a couple of months now. When Caleb said that he was watching his Tennessee Vols last week, I said, whoa, wait a minute. I knew there was a reason I liked you. Caleb, no matter how bad your dad joke is, you now have my vote every week because of that. So take that, Glenn Bill. Take that. Anyway, he says, go Big Orange. Oh, and speaking of selling college clothing, my wife picked up a Vineyard Vines Ole Miss Rebels tie. The pattern had Colonel Reb all over it. She paid 99 cents for it. We sold that sucker for $165. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like that comment all the way. All the way. And the Vols are doing awesome. So take that.
What are you guys ranked right now?
7th.
You're just ahead of me. We're 12th. We went down even the Utes. I'm the University. We went down even because everybody else is doing good, I guess. We were 11th, I think. But.
Yep. Well, Tennessee came out swinging. I knew they would last week because they played. I forgot, like a high school team almost. That was pretty much a nobody, and they destroyed them. But this week they played North Carolina State.
Yeah, NC State,
and they actually was ranked 24th. So I thought, here'll be a good test to see if they're actually going to be a decent team or if they're just going to be, kind of that fluke of a team that they have been in the years gone by. But yeah, they scored like 50-something points to 10. So, I mean, they come out, defense was blowing it up. They played good, strong ball. So I was happy with that. So hopefully we'll have a decent year. That's the hope.
They look like they have a complete team for sure. I mean, it's not just –
a whole lot more complete than it was a couple years ago, for sure.
I mean, if anything, one of their strong suits is quarterback could be their weak place too because of how young he is. But I mean, right now everything's looking great. Just depends on how the rest of the season.
Nico, goes. Right? Nico.
Yeah.
Iamala or something. I can't. He's got a very hard to say.
He's a big. I know about him from cards because
he was a huge recruit.
Yeah, he was one of the top 3 recruits in the nation or something. He was way up there.
He looks like the real deal for sure. I mean, absolutely.
He's playing like a beast, man.
Yeah. The bowl game last year when he came in, I mean, it was amazing. Like just seeing him with so little experience, so little practice under his belt, And I mean, it was crazy how well he performed there. So I'm not shocked on one hand, but at the same time, you just never know, till the season gets there.
No, there's a lot of high hopes for him. I'll just say it like that.
Absolutely.
So what was your comment of the week?
Same one. That's what I said. Yeah, I picked that one too. I mean, it was just a good comment. So I knew you was going to go.
It was a great comment. I agree.
Yeah, not for those reasons, but I like the Colonel Reb part. I thought that was a really cool little find there. So,
that is a good find. I've never sold a tie for that kind of money. I've sold, dollar ties for $20, but I've never found one that was worth $165. That's pretty awesome.
Ties are a pretty good little niche.
In the 100 range.
Yeah.
Really?
Some Vegas ties, actually. It was from like a dealer. He had like these, I forgot the Italian name, but we sold, I think, one for over 100, one for like 95. They were like silk, like fancy stuff. But
yeah.
I never sold a tie like that either until we found these ones, and he's getting rid of them. And I think at like 10, they were ridiculously low.
Yeah.
For what
you can find a vintage silk and anywhere made in Europe, they're usually pretty good if you look them up. I mean, at least going to be $25 or $30 generally.
It's pretty cool.
Don't always find them like that, but every now and then I was at the bins one time and somebody had donated. There was, I don't know, I probably picked up 10 or 12. They were all silk, made in England. I mean, they did really well. So. All
right, let's move on. You're putting Cary to sleep now. Gotta move on.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, like I say, I'm a late waker, and I haven't had any real caffeine, so that's my problem. So,
it's like 2:00 there, right?
It's what is it? 1? Oh yeah, it's 2. It's 2. I've been up for a few hours, but like I usually go and get my coffee. Like I have a kind of a schedule, so I didn't do that this morning. So I'm a little bit like if you want me like. That's why the trash to cash is best, because I'm wide awake. It's like 6 p.m. That's like my time when I'm buzzing, which most people aren't. But for me, mentally, that's what I'm like tripping.
Yeah.
So it's more, honestly, it's more of me just barely waking up before this, before we started.
I feel you.
Yeah. All right. What about sell of the week, Josh? Sell anything good?
Nothing huge this week. I sold my biggest sale was CDs again, because I've been listening. I went through all of those contemporary Christian CDs and got all that stuff listed this last week, which was a ton. But anyway, I sold a lot of Hillsong CDs for $68. So,
well, yeah,
pretty good. I mean, considering what I had in them, I mean,
I had five CDs of dollars worth sold for $60. Yeah, nothing big. That's pretty cool.
I mean, that's just been a great purchase, great flip.
Yeah. Tanya sold 5 more spoons, $85.
Are they silver spoons?
No, these are not silver. These are stainless steel. They're Oneida Rushmore. And what ended up happening, she bought, this guy had like 5 huge trays of them, all the same thing. And they came out of a bunch of, not Airbnbs, but timeshares. So they had redone all their silverware, and he was just getting rid of that stuff. And we bought it for like $40. And the listings, after it's all said and done, there's like $10K worth of listings. And we've sold, I would definitely say we've sold at least 50% of it by now. So
yeah, it's been a few $1,000s worth for sure.
I think, most of it has sold at full price. I've only took offers on a couple here and there. Like I think a couple of weeks ago, we talked about it. Woman reached out. She wanted to buy like 3 or 4 listings worth of stuff. And she said, if I buy all that, would you throw in, or would you sell me an individual piece that was listed as like 4-piece or something? And I'm like, if you buy all that, I'll give you that piece. Like, we won't even talk about buying the piece. I'll just throw it in. And so that's what I did. But yeah, she sold another 5 of those. I mean, they come through here and there, and it's just like, I still can't believe that silverware that's not silver, Cary, you're saying it's silver. I can't believe that it still sells for.
It's crazy.
It's the kind of money. I mean,
you can just Google Oneida 1810 stainless, and then sort it to the highest sale prices, and scroll down a little bit to get out of the big sets. Just get down into the small lots. It's amazing what some of that stuff sells for. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I get why there's a demand for it, but I don't understand why there's quite as high a demand for it. Maybe it's just because it's not as plentiful as it used to be, I guess.
Look, Walmart still sells Oneida, sells the same quality of stainless, before I'd pay $200 to get 4 forks back that were lost out of my set that's older and discontinued, I would just go buy some new stuff.
Yeah,
I think and sell the rest of mine as replacements to somebody else.
We've really almost sold all of our stuff before and just went to plastic around here just because of the price that some of that stuff brings is crazy. Well, I'm not even going to ask you, Cary, because you're disqualified from sale of the week because you're not allowed to make more than $100 on your item to bring it into sale of the week. If you make $30,000, you're disqualified.
Yeah, exactly. if we don't count that, it's like a dramatic drop though between the two. I will say that even more so than you would imagine because it's that massive card sale and a lot of liquidated stuff on eBay, and then a lot of good card stuff, but like that's on Whatnot and stuff. We've had some cool stuff. I sold this cool card I got in a box, of Bruce Lee like patch card. So this was one of the things, like when I started doing content creation for cards, I'm like, I want to work with some companies where they send me boxes and stuff. And so I did that. It's like TikTok Shop, and it's one of these Bruce Lee boxes they do. And they sent me one, and one of it was a piece of a handwritten fight thing that he made. Like he made like all his stances and drew them out. But it was funny. It was a piece of the paper that had nothing on it, but it was from that paper. And then a piece of his jacket that he used to wear that had cool like symbols on it and stuff. Like it was really neat. I almost kept it, but we ended up deciding to sell it.
What are those really? I saw something. Shane had some of those on his live the other night, and the era that you were talking about before, that was what I studied primarily in college, the Industrial Revolution era. Yeah. So his cards, they were like relic cards like that.
Yes.
And they all had some piece of memorabilia, some of them handwritten. Like he had Andrew Carnegie and he had Thomas Edison.
I have Vanderbilt. I have a bunch, yeah.
So
I have Martha Washington.
What's that set called?
It's called Pieces of the Past. It's done by a company called, I think it is Super Products is what they're called. They used to be called True Creator, but they're Super Products now. It's an interesting product, one that like every time I do a video, I try to educate on because it's a cool product, but you got to completely understand it. Like what they're doing with, like, I have a Martha Washington, Mary Todd Lincoln, Jackie Kennedy piece. But what they're doing, not on all their product, but on the majority of the relic stuff, is they are time era relics, which gives them some leeway on what the items are. It could be newspaper, it could be handwriting from somebody else. So that's something that people need to know about, that they do have actual relic, like actual personally used relics within the product as well, like cut signatures or pieces of like Bruce Lee's jacket. Those are a little harder to get. But what they're kind of just really cool time specific insert cards, is how I like to think of it.
So the ones that they're calling handwritten, they're not necessarily, most of them are not from that person.
Probably not. At least it's not. Okay. It's kind of a little bit vague, but there are ones that are numbered. And when you flip those around, and I've gotten several, they'll have like a picture that says like a JSA or PSA certified. So it's something that was autographed. But even that is interesting. Like I got a Rosa Parks one that was numbered to like 10, really low, or numbered to 5. And it was a piece of a page, I think, that she had autographed. But once again, the part I had didn't have any of her writing on it. So it's kind of weird. It's something
for me that makes me feel better.
Writing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But for me, I feel better because I was thinking, watching Shane, it got me to thinking, I was thinking to myself, so are they really just chopping up some historical document, that Andrew Carnegie, wrote or something like that, because I was thinking, that'd be crazy, like to know you had like a whole letter written by one of these people, and here they are just chopping it into little squares and putting it in a card,
I was a history major, and like I studied, I have a degree in history too. Like I'm not 100% against that, to be honest with you. Because especially with more modern people, there are thousands of pieces of documents.
Well, I get it with the more modern stuff, but I'm saying you go back far enough. If
you go far enough, there's the question. And then like, how many documents do they have? And like obviously an important document, no, but if it was just some random thing, maybe it's okay, especially if it gets it out to people so that they can have it and appreciate it. But like, here's like some I have. This is interesting. This is Douglas MacArthur.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's definitely handwriting, but I doubt it is his. See, like this is weird. This is just Pearl Harbor, but it's a piece of an army jacket from that era. And it has a picture of the jacket on the back.
That's cool.
That's an interesting. So this one's numbered 45. I don't know. This one's numbered to 45, so I don't know if that's his actual handwriting or not. It's not clear. William McKinley was assassinated in 1901, and it looks like it's this is going to be a little bit better. I just don't know how much better. I don't know if it's maybe something from his office, not necessarily his handwriting. But like I have a lot of them. I got theater. I love President.
Do you know who the killer was?
Huh?
Do you know who the killer was?
He was a I don't remember the name.
Leon.
Yeah. He was like not a communist. He was an anarchist, wasn't he?
Yeah. Leon Chogos.
There we go.
I think I'm saying it right.
But then they'll have some like this. You know, like
I'm going to check out because I don't.
These are some of
this Bible or something.
This has a piece of the newspaper the day that I think RFK was shot. Like this is weird. Like this is Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln.
It's pretty cool.
Like I don't know what these I mean, they're not going to be. They're not. It's not numbered. Like in there, here's a Martin Luther King stamp one.
That could be super cool stuff, like for pass around during, like if you're teaching history at school.
Oh yeah, these are
divided it up by era, like to match up with your chapters. That'd be cool stuff to. Yeah, that's
I mean, they
awesome.
have some value. I mean, realistically, like you put these on eBay, they're probably $5 to $50 a piece, give or take. Probably not 50, probably $5 to $25. Yeah. The thing is, like, I would put them and probably will put them on Whatnot at some point because I can explain a little bit. I don't really like the eBay thing because I get worried people are going to think that's like Abraham Lincoln's handwriting, and it's not saying it isn't, but it's not saying it is, so it isn't. Right. If that makes sense. So,
let us know when you do that show because I'm very interested. I like stuff like that. I mean,
I might do them. So I've been doing like the anytime auctions on Whatnot, where they just kind of go and I'll put it on my Insta and stuff, and I can let you guys know. But I'm curious to see how it'll do. I know it'll sell. I also might just wait because I have literally like 4 or 5 more unopened boxes there. They keep sending them to me. So I might wait till I have a huge stack, and I might just put them on Shop Commons. You know, I don't know. We'll see. And I might keep a couple. This is the kind of I have a hard time collecting. They're in my personal collection box right now, but they'll probably get sold. I have a hard time collecting anything that I don't know. That's one thing this business does to you. I feel, at least it did it to me. Like I get all the joy because I've always been a collector, I think, but I get all that joy out of finding it.
Yes.
NWO. Yeah. You like the wrestling stuff though. So you found the thing but are you keeping some of it?
That's mine. The reason I'm keeping it is because the windshield was out.
I love it. See, that's a picker. That's a picker right there, Caleb. You're keeping it because it's broke. That's when I'll keep something too. If I can't sell it, I'll keep it. And or it's got to be like low enough value or obscure enough. Like I like these old Skybox autographic cards.
Yes, they're cool.
Oh yeah,
it's a jazz guy, so that's a $5 card. I'd rather keep it because it's that's my PC. But if it was a, John Stockton and worth $80, I would not keep it.
Is that Keith?
Adam Keefe, yeah. I got a whole bunch of them. Like this guy, you guys might know his story, Bobby Fields. He passed away, unfortunately, in a car wreck racing a David Wesley back in the day. And
oh, really?
He was a great player. So he passed away in like 2001. And this is from the late 90s. So it's not like it's super valuable. I mean, it's a little bit more valuable because of that, but he was a great player. And I love those. I love looking. I mean, like even the nerdy stuff, I love looking at the uniforms. I love those cats.
Yeah.
That 90s basketball was where it was at, man.
Me too. 90s basketball is my absolute favorite. We were talking about niches on the podcast a little bit. And I was talking about like, I would even niche down farther, like to 90s, be the 90s basketball guy. But I love all cards. I don't think I could do that. But like for a personal collection, I could. I got a call I got to get on, guys. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. We need to end anyway. We've had you on here for an hour and a half.
I usually don't have anything. I just had a buddy who called. He's like, "Can I talk? Can you call?" And I think he just wants some YouTube talk or something. I don't know.
You want to stay long enough to do a dad joke, or you got to go now?
Yeah, do a dad joke. Let's do it. I gotta find it.
Let's do a dad joke, and then we'll head out for the day. All right, Josh, you hit it first since you lost this week.
Okay. I don't know about that part, but we got it. So this is a little bit
that one vote. So yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay. So a panda walks into a bar, sits down, orders a sandwich. He eats, pulls out a gun, shoots the waiter dead. As the panda stands up to go, the bartender shouts, "Hey, where are you going?" You just shot my waiter. You didn't pay for the food. The panda yells back, hey, man, I'm a panda. Look it up. Bartender opens his dictionary to panda. It reads thus: a tree-climbing mammal of Asian origin, characterized by a distinct black and white coloring, eats, shoots, and leaves.
Wow. Oh, God.
That is a good one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So one morning, this guy opens his front door. He reaches down to get the newspaper. Well, as he bends down to pick it up, he sees this little snail sitting there. Not being a morning person, he picks up the snail and he's like, throws it as far as he can. So a year goes by and there's a knock on the door. He opens it, but there's nobody there. So he closes it and walks away, and he hears another knock. He opens it, and this time he looks down and he sees the snail. And he bends down and he takes a closer look, and the snail says, what the heck was that all about?
That was corny.
That's corny. That's what it's all about, man. It's got to be the clearer the better. You got one, Cary? You gonna drop one on us?
What does a cow read?
What is a cow?
Newspaper.
The newspaper is pretty good. I like that.
Yeah.
Catalog.
Oh, the catalog.
That's pretty good. That's solid.
I like it.
Why did the hipster burn their tongue?
I don't know that one.
Because they drank their coffee before it was cool.
That's pretty good.
I like that. Yeah, I like that one.
Take it.
I like that one better. I like that a lot.
I was trying to find a couple that were. I should have prepared more. I found like a website though. So if you guys ever need them,
That's all we do is we find the worst.
Yeah.
There's websites that are very good at these.
Yeah, that's it. You read them too long, it gets to feel like Groundhog Day. You know, I mean, it's just same stuff over and over.
That's exactly right.
All right,
Cary, man, thank you for being on with us today.
It's one of my favorite podcasts. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Do we rank higher than Trash to Cash? Or?
No, not even close. No. Distant. You guys and the leftovers are my two old guys and leftovers. Because Jimmy, you guys know Jimmy, right?
Oh yeah,
Jimmy Old School Flips.
He's
Yeah,
awesome.
so Jimmy.
Then I listen to Locker Room, and there's what's the one where they're always clickbaiting us. Those are the ones I listen to occasionally as well.
Gotcha.
So it's good. You guys are doing the service. We're all listening, so keep it up.
We appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Yeah, buddy. Thank you for being here again. We'll do it again. And
lots of fun.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, buddy.
Guys, we're going to head out. This has been 3 Old Guys, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
So.